All right, my treasures. So here we are, we're gathering to talk about energy, and I've invited two of my very precious, precious friends to be part of this little chat. And what I'm going to be bringing to us today is something that a lot of people have been nudging me about, and that is this awareness that there is an energy presence in their home or in their own energy field, or something that just doesn't feel right. And I think we are starting to pick these senses up even more now as we're beginning to tune into our own higher vibration, which makes it more available to us to see what is a lower vibration. But those lower vibrations and the contrast of the higher and the lower vibrations, they're not comfortable in our energy system. And there's a part of us that's saying, no, they can't be with me, they can't reside in me, and they can't be in my home, and I cannot share my space, especially if that energy feels a little off. And we do know that energy continues beyond a form. And for those of us who are energy inclined and energy aware, we know this with all our heart and all our soul. So we don't want to be proving anything to anyone. We are speaking to the people who have a sense of energy and a sense of awareness and a sense of connecting into the intuition. And what we're going to offer you is just a glimpse of what it is that we do to help shield and protect our energy fields, our homes, and our own personal spaces. So with that, I'd like you to settle down and just enjoy our chat. And I'm going to ask my darling friend, Kerry, if she will just give us a little sense of what it is that she does. Okay, Kerry.
Hello, everyone. So there's quite a few things that I do in this regard, and I've gone through a long journey myself into becoming aware of these types of things, and then having some time where I questioned that quite a lot, and then I went through a period of fear, and then I came to the point in my journey where I started to really learn about it and what I could do. And so it's something quite dear to my heart that I can understand how it's a difficult journey and a difficult thing to encounter. And there's a few things that I've learned to do that can help you. And the first is to create an energy space around yourself personally that becomes a safe space for you. And I know, Joy, you always have that way of bringing a light part around you. And so you can use a method like that that's used in meditation of creating that sacred space. In the lineage that I am now a part of, and in the work that we do, we have what's called opening your Viracocha. And so what that means is that you bring your hands together and you really come into a nice, sacred, beautiful space with yourself. And then you reach up into your 8th chakra up overhead, and you turn your hands around and you very, very carefully bring that down, and you make sure that you can feel it coming down around you, and you draw that light source around your whole body so that you yourself have this beautiful sacred space around you. And then you can also have that with your whole home too. You can set a sacred space for the home. And also in the way that we do it is by calling to the 4 directions, and then the earth, and then the sky. And so I think it's nice to have that way of acknowledging all the points around the house and what's below and above. And you could perhaps use, when you acknowledge that space and ask for protection, you can use something that's dear to your own religion, your own heart, your own beliefs. And what we do is, in the South, we call to the aspect of serpent, the space that helps us to physically be present in our bodies. So this is our physical protection. And then in the West, we call to the jaguar, that helps us to have protection in the energetic space, to help us to go into the spaces that we're afraid of, or afraid of the dark. And in the North, we appeal to those that came before us and those that came after, and also to the spirit of hummingbird, which is more from a level of spirit to help us have fearlessness to go into a long journey on our own. So it's that playful, fun energy that helps to keep us safe and have bravery to go forward. And then in the East, we appeal to the eagle, which helps from the higher level of spirit, to protect us in all manners. And then we appeal to the earth and all the animals and all the spirits around us to protect us. And above, the sun and the moon and all the star people. So whoever you have in your lineage, or what you believe in, angels, guides, spirits, anyone to help protect that space. And you, if it's in your home that you feel unsafe, you can repeatedly just bring that sacred space into your home so that it feels safe for you. And just remember that anything that hides in the dark has no authentic power of its own. So even if it has power over you, and it does, they have a real power sometimes, but just remember that it has no authentic power of its own. It's got to draw that power from somewhere else. So you keep your energy to yourself and you retain that sacred space, and you will be safe if you hold that intention for yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So just on that, and this last little piece that you were saying about that power, I think what's really important is that we must all start realizing that the energy of anger and fear and hate, rebellion, all these high vibration catalytic kind of energies, this is food and nourishment for lower vibrations. This is what they feed off. So in more harmony we can bring into our home situations and into our own inner being, the better we're going to be. That's lovely, Kerry. Okay, so we'll talk more about that. I love it. And let's me bring in my darling friend Carol. And then Carol, if you can give us some idea of all the amazing ways that you connect into this, my treasure.
Well, thanks. That was absolutely amazing. I love what you said. And I love it that you formalize your practice. So for me, for many, many years, maybe 30 years, I've been saying a prayer that I've developed over the years as I learn and I add new things in. It happens to be in Hebrew. It was something I was taught studying many years ago. It's actually a sacred cross, which is exactly what you're doing. It's acknowledging the earth, your inner power, your inner strength and spirit. And it's kind of bringing you into your central column. And then while I'm saying that, I know that that is my protection around me. And in doing that, once I've done that, I anchor myself. I visualize a cord going down through my tailbone, through my feet, creating roots into the earth. And I know that I'm penetrating the Mother Gaia with the most beautiful sacredness of my heart, and just loving her with unconditional love and the attachment that we both have to each other. And then I send those roots down and I visualize all different layers of the earth, and I wrap it around the central core of the earth 3 times, and I bring it up through my feet and back into my heart. And then I do the same thing with source energy. So I see a central column of light and I pour that light down like a beautiful waterfall, and I see that go rushing all the way through my body and down my feet, and I create it back again. So basically what I'm doing is I'm activating my toroidal field, which is that beautiful egg that's around us, the energetic egg. And I'm also balancing the magnetic field between those 2 polarities. So we have an earth star chakra 3 feet below our feet, and we have a soul star chakra 3 feet above, more or less above our heads. And that is kind of holding us in an activated battery, kind of. And then over the years, I've brought in all sorts of things. So I acknowledge earth, air, water, fire, spirit, wind. I acknowledge, and I do that in the elementals. So I thank the gnomes, the undines, the salamanders, and the sylphs. But while I'm doing this, I'm very, very conscious of my own heart beaming out through my own toroidal field, out past the toroidal field. So not only is it creating a protection, but it's kind of connecting and protecting at the same time with all the good things that are helping me. Well, I was taught many years ago that, or shown that Saint Germain is one of my protectors. He is the ascended master of transmutation. So when I'm in fear, or when I'm doing work to banish something, and he has a violet flame, which kind of cauterizes things. So I see a 3-fold violet flame. Sometimes I don't manage to see that 3-fold thing, but it's all, I visualize the color violet, and I throw all the negativity into a little pit of that cauldron almost, and then I'm always transmute it, and I'm always very mindful to put a good thing back in afterwards. So what do I want? Love, light, healing for whoever or whatever. It's very important that I make sure that I put what I want back in. Yes. So I'm directing the energy to do that. And then I also acknowledge Michael Gabriel Raphael Oriel. So it does get a little bit wordy and lengthy, but I feel like I've got this cloak of allies that are around me. And now in my latter years, I've brought in crystals to do that as well. So that kind of aligns with the mineral kingdom, it aligns with the etheric kingdom, the energetic kingdom, and all of what we're doing and all of what Kerry was speaking about. And I'm sure it's all about quantum field. So the energy is scintillating and oscillating around us. So when those dark forces want to come close to us, and often I drop my guard or something happens and something will happen where I become aware that there is a dark presence or something that I don't want around me, I have to amp up all those tools. And I flip into all of those things to strengthen my system.
Beautiful. Oh, that is so beautiful. So two things we must amplify here is the energy that when you release an energy, you must replace it with a higher vibration, what you're truly asking, calling in, because only the reason we're having contrast is so that we can choose. And we've really got to get that idea in our head that nothing is coming into us that is just a mistake and it's just hardship or we've got to suffer. It's really pointing us in a very directional way. This is what's available if you don't choose. And then you choose, and you choose really well. And then that's what you put back into that space. I just love, love, love that. And I love what you've both done. You've created your own inner practice with what feels true and authentic to you both. And that's what I would like to invite all those who listen to this to be guided to do as well. There's not a right way or a wrong way. There's no such thing as good and bad and right and wrong. There's no polarity in this. It's just truth. And so what resonates is your instinctive, intuitive truth. And what comes to you as insight and guidance, use that. So we would love to share just a few of these ideas with you, but to empower you to really, really stand up in your energy strength, in your spiritual, energetic, beautiful being of light and love, which is what we're doing this for, right?
Yeah, so the other thing I just want to mention is with these energies, we can have something that is almost a spirit, someone or a being, something that seems very specific, or the energy could also be an idea, a theme, something that carries on in our life that almost starts to have its own form, so through time, as you were saying, Joy, we hold these things in our home, like despair or these different aspects, and that can almost take on its own form. And I remember you actually, when I first was encountering this and feeling so confused, you told me that, if you're in the kitchen making tea and you remember something and you go out the room and you can't remember what you did, and then you come back to where you were making tea and you remember. And so in that aspect, the thought form stays in that space. And as we allow thought forms to be fed repeatedly, they can almost take on their own form and their own beingness inside the body, and inside our space.
And I'm going to say this here too. And I think that if we recognize that, my darling Kerry, then people can start not thinking they're going out of their minds, because people do a lot of inner shaming and blaming when they feel like they're tuning into something and they feel like they're losing their minds. It can really cause a huge inner insecurity.
Yeah, and so it's just to say that there's a lot of people out there that have these experiences. We all know it from our own experience and our own inner knowing and sight and experiences, and just to know that there is so much that we cannot see and cannot understand, and over time, if you even look throughout history and science, we believed XYZ, and over time we've evolved that. And so don't think just because society or science or something says things to be true in a certain way, don't allow that to let you question yourself and your experience. Just ground into what you're experiencing and start to understand that in the context of that itself, not in the context of what you think you should believe or what you know to be true. Just use your wisdom in these aspects, and then the wisdom becomes so much more important in this time, when you experience these things, to ground into your own wisdom and knowing. I have a practical thing that they can do. So we can also create what's called a seguro, which means safety in Spanish. And that is a little spray that you can make for yourself. Just take a clean, clear alcohol like vodka, and then you can place into that herbs that are protective and helpful, like sage and rosemary and pine. And but rather create this little ceremony for it where you're creating what you think is going to really be safety for you. And so you can find plants that are around you in your home that make you feel good, something that you've always been attracted to, whatever's blooming in your garden. You can add all those plants into it. Then you can add little stones and crystals as well. Something that's really nice to add is something that's silver and gold to bring the masculine and the feminine into that. And then you add your prayers, you add all those guides that you think that you have a connection to, anything that's really supportive in your life. And you really create that space for this Seguro to hold you safe. And then you can allow that to steep for a few days, and then you can drain that and you can put it in a bottle and spray your space before you go to bed and anytime that you feel unsafe. And really, because you've created that for yourself, it's your own personal way of holding that safe space for yourself.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is such a wonderful, wonderful idea. And the smell, once you connect into smell, it awakens such an amazing amount of our brain capacity. Our sense of smell is like one of those points that go connecting into the pineal chakra rapidly, more rapidly than most of the senses. So that is perfect. And the vibration. And I know, Carol, you do a lot with vibrations and working in this. Tell us about that from your perspective.
I love what you said. And I think one of the things you could possibly add to that is tourmaline, black tourmaline, because that's a really good stone for protection. So you can sometimes get just like a little bracelet and you can cut it up and get the little chips, or you can get chips. And you can maybe add that into your little concoction, which is beautiful. Or there's also a beautiful stone called aegirine, which is fantastic for clearing entities. So you can see they're black, both of them. Also very good for electromagnetic fields. And that would work brilliantly in your little spray, which I'm going to do from now on. Thanks. It's fantastic. And with a little bit of clear quartz in there, will also magnify the energy.
Yes. Clear quartz is beautiful. So I'm going to show you my little spray. And this is my darling friend, Vanessa Brewer. She made this for me just recently. And she makes these exactly the way you're saying, Kerry, and creates these beautiful essences. She just gave this to me this last week. And oh my gosh, it's delightful. So it's all natural elements. And then there's this beautiful vibration in it. And here it comes in. And then, Carol, you also have created the most beautiful range of Aurixia, which is these beautiful bottles of energy frequencies and vibrations. And I use them in my therapy room all the time. So I use the grounding and I use the expression and the happiness and the creativity and the transformation. Those 5, I use them all the time. And it elevates the frequency. So using these sprays and essences and energy and vibration and pulling all the elements into them, I love this idea. This is so doable.
I think the sprays that we make, once they're in our environment, that has got a very profound energetic protective field for us. So particularly that grounding's got tourmaline in it, as well as other frequencies, help to protect and cleanse our whole environment as well as our auric field. So I think they're very beneficial. And I think that now, especially since lockdown, I think we have gone through an upshift that we, as you were mentioning earlier, we're becoming more sensitive to those energetic vibrational frequencies. So I think they have a more profound effect because we're allowing them in.
Yes, that's right. Because our energy frequency can connect into it. Yes, that's beautiful. Okay, so now we've got something that's like a spray that we can create and open up the vibrational frequency. Let's imagine that we're working with someone who would like to clear their home. Where would we begin, Kerry? Where would you start now if we said we were clearing a home and you were helping someone to go, the first thing that they could do?
The first thing I would say is to create that sacred space, with intention throughout the whole home, to spend the time and visualize and create that grid for your home. And in that space, once that has been created, to use something like the spray or Palo Santo or sage to help you clear the space. But coming from the aspect of you're not trying to chase out the baddies and and use those tools. They're very powerful tools, you know, those cleansers like the Palo Santo and the sage as smudging tools. Remembering that any being needs to be treated with an aspect of loving kindness and compassion, and that aspect of nothing that's in the darkness has any power of its own, you know. So when we're creating that space, it's not out of fear or driving out or trying to get rid of, because that creates a combatant type of energy, you know, we're trying to combat it. And also it creates a sense of fear. And so it's rather having the sacredness of that ceremony of clearing, of creating space and openness and lightness, and having that sense of love radiating from your heart, that whatever this is, that you have love, compassion for it. And that's what helps to guide it on to a different place, and not to have that fighting, because the fighting is just another way of binding yourself back into that energy and into that thing. And so also remembering that, you know, we work so much with light, and we always have so much focus on light because, you know, we see it and we experience it, and that's where we draw our power from. But also remembering that in the darkness is wisdom too, you know, that if you think of the darkness as a womb, out of the darkness grows everything, and all the ideas grow out of the space. It's a very creative space. And so aspects of energy that feel, we shouldn't have fear of the darkness, you know, we should be able to love, appreciate, go into the darkness as well, you know. So just having that aspect of always having that love and intention for whatever you're working for in your space.
And if you just were to bring it to a single word, it would be oneness. And as soon as we know oneness and we feel the oneness that come in with these two sides, two aspects, polarities, dualities, separation, as soon as we bring oneness in, we are in such a clean space.
And I think that that is really such a key here, is that to respect the being as a life force that maybe is a wayward or something that is trapped or energetically has lost its way. It's not necessarily coming to us to cause a problem with us. It's more about its own journey that is trying to be released. That's how I see it. Or I've had a couple of experiences where friends of mine who have committed suicide are guilt. They feel there's a sense of foreboding guilt that they feel like they're going to get punished if they leave the earth plane. So they've needed assistance in being released. So in those instances, it's more about releasing an entity with loving kindness and showing its way out through the light.
I'm just going to mention also that Carol makes crystal grids for people, and she has them running, and she's been holding my sister and a few other people that I know. And there's a profound shift when we feel supported in this way with this beautiful high vibration energy. So this is just one of the lovely ways that we can create. But how would you show someone else how to do this for themselves?
I think crystal grids are very, very powerful because they are, because of the sacred geometry inside the crystals, when you line them up in a grid shape or in a geometric shape, it amplifies the geometry inside that essence of the crystal that you're working with. So one of the things I love to work with is tourmaline, black tourmaline. You can get really rough chunks. So what I do is I place these in a square, and that can be around anything. You can place it around your workspace, or you can create, I have them around my bed, but it must be a geometric square. You can place it around your property, on the corners of your property. You can bury them on your property. And once you've done this, you sit in the center. So I sit in the center of my bed, and I form a pyramid in my imagination of tourmaline. And I do a meditation tuning into those 4 pieces of tourmaline, connecting them on the floor. And then I place myself inside a pyramid in my imagination. So it's a black pyramid, and it's got shiny sides that you can basically use it as a protective shield. And then I visualize the exact same thing in the other direction. So I'm sitting in the middle of this beautiful black gridded etheric shield. Crystals in our environment are incredible. They form shields as well. So what happens is, because crystals are oscillating at their own vibrational field, they're very, very slow vibrational oscillations. They're the most stable oscillations on the planet, actually. So that's why we feel really good when we're wearing crystals or when they're in our environment, because of that constant oscillation. We oscillate all over the place. Our brain's doing one thing, our eyes are doing another thing, our heart's doing another thing, scientifically. But a crystal in our environment starts to entrain our oscillation to its oscillation. So when you have something like a rose quartz ball in your environment, that is radiating slowly, pulsing out in all directions in a circular form. So to have this in your environment is a fantastic tool, and it doesn't need to be a big one. It can be a little one. So I always feel like crystals are my allies. They're my friends. So the other beautiful tool that I use is selenite. Selenite is also very inexpensive, and you can see it's almost like fiber optic. And it's also like a shiny chatoyancy, it's called. It's like an iridescence almost. And that is a major protector in your auric field. So you can basically just cleanse your auric field almost like a smudge stick with it, and it totally shines your auric field up. As sometimes I also use Palo Santo in my area, but very, very mindfully. As Kerry mentioned, it's not it's a very strong tool, and I cleanse. I'm mindful to cleanse all the corners, because stuck energy can get stuck in soft furnishing, in corners of buildings, and that's where the sprays also are beautiful, because they also soft furnishing collects a lot of energy. So whether it's a curtain, a carpet, whatever it is, so those are things that we want to air out, clean, even if they're not something that you wash that regularly, like a carpet, to give it a good beating, or the auric field sprays or the energy, the crystal tools are really useful in lifting the energy of our environment like that.
Oh, that's lovely. So one of the little tricks that I love to play with, I like to get some natural bicarb, and I put a few drops of essential oils, and I choose, like you were saying, the pine is so beautiful. Put a few drops of that, or the thieves oil is beautiful, cloves and frankincense, and I have those high vibration frequencies. I put a few drops of that in like a glass jar, and then I shake it up and just store it in my cupboard. And then when I want to go in and make that room go quong and pop, then you just shake it all over the carpets, and it just odorizes the carpets, because carpets get yucky, they get dense, and especially if you live near the coast, then there's a dampness in them as well. So you just odorize your carpets, and you just leave it on there for the day, and then you can vacuum over it or just sweep over it. It just blends in, and it freshens up. It's such a good cleanser, and then that's from your ground level,
and that's absorbing all the yucky stuff into that thing you are extracting.
Exactly. Okay, lovely. So now we've got the sense of smell. We've got these beautiful crystals that are coming into the etheric vibrational field. So let's talk about maybe sound. Do you use sound at all?
Oh, yes. So I have a background in yoga, and for us, mantra is a very important aspect. And through my own practice and my own growth, I've also come to really enjoy using mantras from all different religions, so some Christian mantras, some mantras from Buddhism, from yoga. And I really feel that sound helps to protect you and to bring you into a much quieter space. And when we're in that space of quiet and spaciousness, that's where the wisdom is. And that coming home to ourselves, to our own heart, that's also what brings you to a space of clarity and protection.
Yes. Beautiful.
And there's also a lot of specific protective mantras. I know the Kuan Yin one, Om Mani Padme Hum.
Oh, yes.
That one is very powerful to help protect GPC.
That's lovely. Yeah, that's beautiful. And that they can also find on Insight Timer. You can go and look that one up, and then just have it on your phone, on the app on your phone, and then just play it. Be it in your space and just play it. It's such an easy way to bring a beautiful high vibration, and then to have these mantras and to be able to sing them and 108 times. Oh, now I'm going to just reach over here and show you what my beautiful Kerry made me. Look at this. I know, isn't this lovely? So in here is my mommy's absolute beautiful, that beautiful blue. Give me the name again.
Lapis lazuli.
Oh, lapis lazuli. That's my mummy's best. And then you've got some rose quartz or clear quartz ones over here. And that's 108. And that's what you would also use when you connecting into a sound and a mantra, and you would go 108 times up all those little beads. So special. You've got these available, my darling girl, on your website. So I'm going to give you all that information where you can access support and help. I'll leave that all the stuff at the end, and you can access Kerry and her beautiful work and Carol and her beautiful work, and connect into any of us, you know, in any way that we can support you. So Carol, talk to us about sound. How do you play with that?
Sound is because my main focus in my world at the moment is crystals. I have learned that's the most effective way scientifically to clean and clear a crystal is through sound. So it's a beautiful thing to do rituals of the moon and to take our crystals out and clean them in salt or whatever you want to do with them. Some of them can't be in salt, but most people know what can and can't be. The real way to clean and cleanse a crystal is through sound. And it's a jarring sound. So you can clang a pot, actually, but obviously you want to. So I've got a Tibetan bowl that instead of going around the Tibetan bowl, I give it a good dong on it. And I make sure, especially because I do crystal sessions with people, after every crystal session, I cleanse and clear that room over every single crystal in the room, over everywhere I work, before I start and after I end. And what it's doing is it's realigning all the sacred geometry back into its form. So that is a really, really good, quick, fast way to cleanse all crystals. So I do use that in my room as well. So again, in the corners, I go around all the corners onto the floor, and I ding my crystal bowl. I don't have tinctures, but I know that a lot of people like to use those. They look like little baby cymbals, and people cling those together and they make a beautiful, beautiful sound. So those are also very effective. But if you don't have any of those, clapping works well. You can get into a rhythm of clapping, and you can clap those things away from you. It will also, I think that the tools, like when I look at the tourmaline none of us need those tools. The imagination is so, so powerful. You can do all of this without the tools. So another thing that we can do, like inside Timer, is you can go onto YouTube, and when I make my elixirs, I put them the kilohertz frequency. I play that sound to the water when I'm making my elixirs. So I also sing on YouTube prayers to the elixirs. So I use Tom Kenyon's prayers a lot when I'm making the elixirs. And I would imagine, I've never done it, but I would imagine when you're cleansing a room or a house, he's a great one to use because he's bringing in the angelic realms in so many ways. And then I use the kilohertz of whatever vibrational frequency I'm working with. So if, for example, I'm working with my love spray, I'm humming that kilohertz quite loud where I'm pouring and making my product, and it also puts me into the most beautiful zone. So it just settles me into that zone, and I know that the water in my system is humming at that level, and then that's going into my elixirs. So those are really simple, available things to us that we can all do in our houses.
So I'm going to give you a sense of what I do there too, but I really want to say this very clearly. You heard Carol say that at the end of every session, she consciously clears the energy connection, because every one of us, when we are connecting, we are creating connections. And so when we're working with others, and especially if you're a practitioner, and I really say this with all my heart and soul, be very, very, very mindful about the connection that you're holding, and that at the end of your session, you create this releasing of that person into their own beautiful energy space, and you create a beautiful cleansing and clearing in your energy space. If you're going to hold any connection to them, like an energy synaptic cord, it must be pure light and pure love. No distractions, no distortions. And this is one of, if you're working with a practitioner who's not doing this, it's probably a good idea to help them to get this idea, because truly this is one of the most important things, because we give a lot of our power away in a way when we go sit with a practitioner, because we relax and release and want them to help us. But truly what we're doing is we want to empower and heal ourselves, because we are the healers of our own being. No one can tap in as perfectly as you can to your own being. So knowing how to do this, and that's why we want to share this with you. It's not one of us being magical and clearing your space. It's you coming into alignment with your energy space. And you never give your power away to another, but we can hold and love and support each other in our journeying. And that's what we're here to do as practitioners. So that's really important, big piece to say. I could say lots more, but let's stop there. Go ahead.
If you could just mention on that note, Selenite is a fantastic tool for that. So when I finish a session on every person, I have a specific Selenite comb, which I didn't bring because it stays in my workroom and I only use it for that. But I comb through the system and I release all the debris that we've worked with on a mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual plane. But then when I'm finished with that and I've washed my hands, I do it to myself as well. So again, it's like that smudge stick. I make sure that this tool cleans my own auric field, and it actually separates me. I consciously say that I'm separating and stepping out of their field, but this is the tool that I use to help me with it.
So I'm going to just show you a couple of things that I do for sound, and we can do, if you've got a bell in your home, that's a really nice, simple little and high-pitched, high vibration sound. Or if you've got someone who sings beautifully, like I've got my daddy who sings beautifully, then I give them each an instrument, a bell and a chime and a little tuning fork, and we all have lovely things. Whoops, let me just do that properly. That's a lovely sound. And then we walk around and we just clear and clear and clear and clear the space. And my daddy sings, and singing is beautiful. So you could either sing some beautiful song, and he's got such a gorgeous voice, it's just unbelievable. So whatever you want to do, or hum or play something, play one of the mantras, or play a beautiful song that really helps you to be uplifted. And you were talking about vibrations and tuning in with those, and tuning forks are absolutely beautiful. And so this one is in the harmonic range, and this is the note of F, and that is the vibrational frequency for the heart. So when I'm working with the heart, I have the chakra range, which gives the actual hertz of the heart vibration, and I put that onto the person, but then I sound that sound and I listen, and you can bring that beautiful note of F, and you can just create that beautiful vibration and clear the air, and then clear your crystal. So I do that too. I take the crystal and I just put it onto the crystal and clear that beautiful little darling. I like to have handfuls of these little clear rose quartz, these little ones, little chips. And before you could buy them at nurseries, and whole bags of them. So I had a whole bunch of them, and they're getting a little scarce now. So we'll see if we can get another good source of lots of those little guys. But when I go in and I clear a home, help someone to clear, then I love to put one of these, put a blessing, the sound, the vibration, the smudge stick, the incense stick, whatever we're using to clear, put a prayer, put a blessing, and then put on every entrance, every window, every door, every entrance, just put it above, and then around the whole property, and the entrance to the property, the gate entrance, and just put these all around. So I just think that those are really fun. And I even have shungite, which you spoke about, and I put them in these little gauze, little gifty bags, and I put them in that, and I pin them to the skirtings in my therapy room so I can't vacuum them up. So those are just in the corners of my room, and you can do that too, and just hang them from places and spaces. One of the other things you can do is put the Himalayan crystals, the little rough crystal salt around, and you can sprinkle that around your room. And so the other one, the bicarb, is like an odorizer with the essences, the essential oil essence, which is lovely, because then you've got this perfume kind of smell coming up through the carpets, odorizing and cleansing it. But the salt is also wonderful because apparently it absorbs low frequencies or low energies. That's what I've heard.
And it's also lovely for a bath too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Bath in the salt, and citrus is also great. And in your shower, you can just put lemon on yourself or orange, and then the bath with some kind of oil and Himalayan salt.
Nice. That's what we would do. Beautiful, beautiful. So much that we can do, and so much that we can help each other with. So is there anything else that we could bring in now that we would bring as a thought or a connection to cleansing and clear?
I think for me, the most success that I have, so that is for me, the key is to drop from our thought process or even from our pineal area, dropping that into our heart. Mm. And sometimes I visualize an elevator, a lift. Sometimes I swallow. Sometimes I just open it up, back and front, side to side. And I have to know that that is the depths of where I really, really am operating from. And that is the only way that I can shine that light in a healthy, disconnecting type of way for that other being or frequency, energy.
I love that.
So for me, that's really the key. Somebody who has trained me in the work of releasing waywards and entities, and we're going to leave the link at the bottom of this, is the most amazing man. He's in America somewhere, and he has a website called Twisted Sage. And his name is Brian Besco. Beautiful man. And he has got a YouTube video that absolutely takes you through the process of how to do this for yourself if you're feeling like you would like to just work it through with somebody.
So I just wanted to thank all those who are going to be listening to this lovely little connection and talking energy. And if there's anything else you'd like us to chat about, I'm sure we would love to get together because us girls just like to do that. And so you can let us know if there's other topics or you'd like to know more about any of the aspects that we spoke about here. And you're welcome to get hold of Kerry. I'll put a little notice up and you'll see that at the end, Kerry, and get hold of Carol. Beautiful, beautiful connections to higher vibrations in the work that they both do. Very unique and very uplifting. Perfectly on time for this time of our evolution. So, and I wish you so much luck and so much love as you now take this journey a little further and bring in more peace, more love, more grace, more kindness into your heart and your home. All these resources, we're going to have them connected into this and just make these available to you in any wonderful way that you wish. Most important message, remember, connect to your heart and soul. And that's the way we're going to do this journey with more ease and grace. Love you, darling girls. Thank you for being here. Thank you for holding the space. Take care, my treasures. Many blessings.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see from up here.